Now, for more on this report, let's talk to the Chief Executive Officer, Lit Network, Chukwuma Okenwa. He joins us live via Zoom from Enugu. Good to have you join us. So earlier this year, we saw a projection by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group saying that the unemployment figure would probably rise to 37% this year. But this from the KPMG is 41%. That's quite worrisome. What do you think is happening here?
Honestly, it's been clearly pointed out that we see about 4.5 million entrants into the job market. The question is, how ready is the Nigerian economy to absorb these 4.5 million new entrants, judging also that some persons who are already in the employment, already employed, are either unemployed or are even losing the employment. And the firm KPMG went further to point out that this is due to low industrialization, that's poor government interventions in terms of making the business environment healthy, competitive, ease of doing business, and as well as incentivizing the private sector. We know that largely globally, in most cases, over 70% of the economy jobs are driven by SMEs, the small businesses. And then in the case of Nigeria sector, where you have like over 90% of this economy driven by SMEs, what template does the government have to incentivize this sector, create the enabling environment to ensure that they have the capacity to employ more and more? So what we see is that the number of people that want job are increasing, but the jobs tend to be decreasing or are not growing as much as it ought to be able to accommodate all the people that need to work.
I mean, you must have heard it from a lot of analysts, and just generally, because many would say that, look, this administration is now basically just a lame duck, and the bulk of this work will fall on the table of the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What do you suggest that he can do in this area in terms of increasing the job figures and reducing the unemployment numbers?
Very, very important that if the president-elect, sets up an economic council, he should be able to listen to them. The advice that they will present on his table, he should be able to review. Sometimes some of those documents just come to just like a fulfillment of processes to compile documents, and it is not even reviewed. I argue that if a politician actually set out clearly that economic transformation is key on his agenda and prioritize all of that, direct all of the energies, I am sure that first of all will start in the reflection of cutting down on the cost of governance and directing more funds into ventures that are economically productive. Because all we see in Nigeria is that the funds are not enough, and the ones we even get both internally and the ones we borrow sometimes are diverted into things that are not productive economically. So we want to see more interventions in terms of infrastructure, to be able to enhance environment, create more enabling environment for businesses to thrive. We want to see more investment in the area of power sector. We want to see more investment in the area of infrastructure in terms of roads to be able to access markets in the local areas. We also want to see a rejuvenation of the local government system to be able to produce. I mean, one aspect or type of governance that we've left, and it's not helping Nigeria, is rejuvenating the economic potential of the 704 local governments in Nigeria. And if we insist on that, ensuring that every local government should be able to earn forex, should be able to come up, invest into one product they can take on a global stage, whether it's palm oil, whether it's cashew. Experience have shown and research have shown that some of these key products could actually be the mainstay of a country's economy. So imagine if out of all the 704 local governments, we make critical investment, then Nigeria will once more become economically viable. And we could get to the point of giving aid to other nations and even borrowing to other nations. This still is possible.
And quickly, just because you mentioned earlier the ease of doing business, I wanted to ask you if you think that we would feel the impact of the cash crunch and the Naira redesign policy that we saw earlier. We're just starting to ease out of it. But if we're going to see the impact of that on job numbers in the coming months, and how that should be addressed at the moment?
I mean, it's a factor. Honestly, nobody we expected that if the court has approved that the old currency be sent back into circulation, then we are wondering as Nigerians what exactly is happening. Is it that all of the old currencies were burnt? Why are we not able to access these funds to be able to do business? Well, that wouldn't have been a challenge if the cashless policy was fully in view, having all of the technical support and backup for people to be able to do business, which also has to do with the financial literacy, right? The tech savviness of Nigeria, which at this point is still very low. You can't tell like that local farmer who doesn't even, in some cases, have phones or even the wired ones and doesn't even understand about the USSD to be able to risk that. I mean, many of them want their cash to be able to hold it, tie it in their wrapper, and that to them means like they are growing, So the issue of like moving from bank Nigerians to become bank Nigerians is a process, and all of that should have been considered in that CBN's policy.
Thank you so much for talking to us, as always, Chief Executive Officer, Lead Network, Chukwuma Okenwa.
Thank you.